put I am every woman in the chat. And if you're on Facebook land, we are over here on Zoom. So y'all might want to go in the link below. Click on there, meet us in the Zoom because it will not be televised. Look, the revolution will not be televised. So it's not going to be televised on Facebook land.
You're listening to the sound.
And this right here is Tasha Cobb's Visionary Woman. This is her playlist. Tasha Cobb's playlist on Apple Music. Hey Mandy. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey.
Let me see, hold on a second. And those that are on Facebook again. You have to get in your place. No, it was International Women's Day something, the browse, and it had like her, Cardi B, and other folks playlist. I can share it with you. Let me share it with you. On my phone. I'll share them through my oh, there you go. All right, guys, those are on Facebook. We are in the Zoom. I see y'all out here. We are in the Zoom, so make sure you click that link right below. I'm gonna make sure I pin the comment. Click that link right there, and you come on into the Zoom land with us. We are about to begin in a few minutes. In about 2 more minutes, 8:05. We're letting y'all to come on in. Another text went out, the email went out, so we're waiting on people to come on in. I'm not sure what show comes on here that people are watching, but let me come on in here to get a live panel discussion tonight and tomorrow. Hey, Miss Felicia, thanks for joining in. Oh, man. Pastor Carol says she's having a hard time. I might just do the phone with her. I think we have the phone number. Hold on. It's the God in me. I'm trying to see if our other panelists can make it on here. So give me just 1 more minute. And we're going to enjoy the music. You might got to join this via phone. see, we have to make her dial in. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Oh, never mind. She's in. Okay. All right. She's in. All right. We got Pastor Carol in. All right. All right. All right. And those that are. Nope. Oh. All right, guys. I'm going to welcome everybody to our day 4 of the State of Womanhood Address. Tonight is going to be a live. Tonight is going to be our live discussion. Tonight is going to be our live discussion. 1 second. Tonight's going to be our live panel discussion. We have 3 awesome women, 3 amazing, awesome women that I know personally. And as always, before we start, we're going to go ahead and begin with prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for allowing us to see a brand new day, God. We thank you for day 4 of the State of Womanhood Address. Lord, we ask, Lord, that the panelists on here, Lord, that they will give the right words, God, to the women that are here and that will be listening to the recording, God. May you continue to touch their heart and their mind, God, and open the participants, God, their heart and mind to receive whatever you have to receive from them, God, that they need to help them to be a better woman in this day and age. These other blessings we ask in your most holy name we pray. Amen, 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 amen. So, again, I want to welcome everybody to day 3 of the State of Womanhood Address. The State of Womanhood Address is something that God gives to me. It's going to be yearly. This is our inaugural one. And for those that are watching, if you don't know who I am, we're already on day 4, which you should. I am your girl, Theron. I'm the founder and creator of Superwoman Still Standing Women's Expo and events. And this is put on by Superwoman Still Standing. God gave me Superwoman Still Standing in 2017. And I was like, God, he told me to do something. I'm like, well, God, I already got a lot going on. Can we can we do it next year? But he said no. He said that the women need it now. And it was a must. And so I did the event in 2017 of August, because I really don't take my birthday month off. If you know a Leo, we celebrate the whole month of August. And so God gave me that in 2017, the Superwoman Still Standing Women's Expo, and I've been rocking ever since. And so he gave me this, the State of Womanhood Address, to speak on and to talk on womanhood. There's a shift, there's a rise that women we are becoming the #1 rise in entrepreneurship and business ownership, and we have to continue to come together. We are the world. We have the life portal within us, and that's who we are, and we all need to come together. But there are some issues and some things that we need to talk about with the state of womanhood and all of that. And so tonight, I'm just excited to have our guests. But before we bring on the guests and I talk about them, this was brought to you by our sponsors, and that's Lavinia Seafood, guys. Lavinia Seafood, if you have not, if you're not in Middle Georgia, but if you want some good butter sauce and some seasoning on your seafood, go to laviniaseafood.com and check her out, because you can order the same stuff they put on the stuff here in Middle Georgia. They put it on there. Also, this is brought to you by Win Styles. Go to winstyles.com. This little purple jumpsuit is all one-piece jumpsuit I got from my girl Shantae Wynn out of Apopka, Florida. And so if you know anything about me or know about my alter ego, Bushida, she's from Apopka, Florida, but I got it from my girl Ayana and my friend Shantae. Suffered in Silence Incorporated is a nonprofit organization here in the Middle Georgia area. Hold on a second. Helping those in need. Suffered in Silence Org is a nonprofit organization here in Middle Georgia. Its really purpose is to help the underserved market all over, but in particular, Middle Georgia area. The founder, Charmaine Joseph, got this organization in honor of her sister who passed away, Cheryl, who passed away in 2018. Cheryl was a veteran serving both the Army and the Navy, and she had received an injury and never healed properly. And she reached out tirelessly to find the medical care necessary to thrive in the civilian life. She ended up applying for disability benefits and was denied each time she had it. And in December of 2018, her ankle injury developed a blood clot that took her life. She's not alone in the struggle to receive proper medical care or in the lack of understanding of how to navigate the complex government systems. So Suffer in Silence is designed to be a resource so that no one falls through the cracks because they lack the resource needed to regain their life and livelihood. We never want anyone to feel the cost is a burden to receiving the help they need. So join Suffered in Silence Incorporated. They had different programs and events that going on. I know for sure that they do the food pantry every second Wednesday in Fort Valley, Georgia. So go ahead and check her out at sufferedinsilenceinc.org. Also, we have our sponsors, Forties Fly and Fit with Miss Shanita. She is the Swag You ambassador, and she helps women over 40 to love the curves, love all of the skin that they're in, as well as help us because we're over 40 and our body does different things. I'm learning at 41. I'm like, Lord Jesus, my right knee is bothering me, but probably can I release this weight. But she's helping us love all our extra curves that we have and also how to release that. We have Master of Move Virtual Economy, Move 2021 from our guest panelist and keynote speaker, Ms. August Crenshaw. So make sure you follow Ms. August so you can be up on the up and up on that. I am a part of the Master of Virtual Economy Summit, and it's going to be a great summit because as we know now, more women are coming into the entrepreneurial space, and this is a great tool to learn. Single Moms Connect, this is sponsored by Single Moms Connect, an organization here in Middle Georgia building stronger women. And 10% of the proceedings when you say yes to getting the access to all the replays for this entire week is going to Single Moms Connect Development Center, which is coming out the spring of 2021. And also the Light.Live, Middle Georgia's #1 inspiration streaming station. And I have my broadcast every Saturday at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the Light.Live. So guys, I want to thank everybody. I thank all our sponsors. Thank everybody who's came out to this. And I want to go ahead and undo the spotlight. Hold on, let me move my pen. Undo the spotlight and so we can the gallery so we can see everybody in our speakers. So we can see our speakers. So I'm going to go introduce from going from whatever direction it is. I got Miss August right here. Then I got Kalinda, and I got Pastor Carol right here. So I want to introduce our first panelist is Miss August Crenshaw, Miss Real, Raw, and Relentless. She is a business and strategy coach. She is the founder and creator of Authentic Collective. Where she wants women to be their authentic self, spelled AWE. And she'll go more into that when she introduced herself. AWE. You will never spell authentic any kind of way once you with August, and she spells it AWENTHIC, Authentic Collective. We have Miss Kalinda. She is a motivational speaker, a transformational coach, helping women to heal their lineages and also helping them in their business as well to have the life of more abundant. She is a helper of women and want women to succeed in all areas of their life. Then we have Miss Pastor Carol Walker of No Limit International Church Ministries here in Byron, Georgia. You know, she is a no limit soldier for the Lord. She's a no limit soldier for the Lord. And one of my second mamas that helped me with my womanhood and learning some things that I need to learn as a wife, as a mother, going into that space. And so I'm appreciative of all three of the ladies coming on and saying yes to be on this panel. So, but I introduced them a little bit, but I'm gonna let each one of them in that order tell a little bit about themselves. Go ahead, Miss August.
Hey again, everybody. Like she said, my name is August Crenshaw, and even though I'm a business coach, I really do prefer to always introduce myself based on just who I am. And so, yes, I believe in authenticity. That's at the core of everything that I do in my life, whether that's in my family, my business, and out in traffic. If you see me in the streets, and I spell authenticity, like you said, AWE, because I believe all of us should leave others in awe of who we are. We should be operating in our gifts at all times and being very appreciative of the way that we've been designed. And so for me, this event means everything, because anything that has to do with helping another woman step into the highest version of herself and operate freely, I'm down for that. So I'm excited to see what comes from the conversations that we're going to have. And I'm grateful to be on the panel with these other two beautiful ladies.
Yes. Go ahead, Miss Kalinda. Introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay, I am Kalinda Nicole, as Darren just said, and I am a transformational coach that helps women, as she said, heal, but I take it back through your lineage because everything, is cycled down. And one of the things that I try to get females to understand is that we're not necessarily always breaking curses, but patterns, beliefs, behaviors, and traditions that may not work in our lives right now. And once you give them that, that opens the doors to so many solutions and lessen the, anxiety. So I just help women to really get clarity and understand and see that there's a way out of their stuckness, that they're not really stuck. So, and I'm also grateful and thankful to be on this beautiful platform with the beautiful Theron and the other ladies that are on here.
Thank you.
And that's it.
And we got Pastor Carol Walker.
Everybody, I'm Pastor Carol. I am also, as I said, I'm pastor of No Limit International Ministries, but I also have a ministry that I've been having for about 16 years called WADE, Women Against Depression Empowerment. And I also have a business called I Am Purpose. And what I have, God has always designed me to show the women, we have spaghetti lives. We go through a lot of different things, but God has always gifted me in this area to show women that who they are without all the mask. So I help women take the mask off and actually see them from who they are within. Love what I do. I've been doing it for a while. I am a mentor, I'm a professional, and I am a licensed biblical counselor. So that's just a little about me, but most of all, I am a woman too. Amen. So I am so excited. I can't wait to hear what is about to unfold. And I can't wait to hear other people, so that I know that I'm expecting some people will be changed tonight. Amen. God bless you all.
Yes. The first question I want to ask the panelists, and we start with August and go back around, is in your womanhood, what are one or two things that you were taught from the woman that raised you that really stick and sink in?
Ooh, well, first of all, my grandmother is the woman that raised me. And I would say that I learned a couple of things from her, but one of the most valuable things I learned, she didn't teach it to me directly. I have an expression that more is caught than taught. And a long time ago, my grandmother told me a story about how she asked my grandfather for some money. She asked him for a couple of dollars because she needed some sanitary napkins. And my grandfather asked her, why did she need the money? And that set her whole spirit back, because why should I have to explain? He was supposed to be the provider. And from that day forward, she told me she had never been changed, that she had been changed and she'd never be the same. And my grandmother barely had an 8th grade education, but she would always land these jobs. And even though she was barely literate, she would mock and follow people and learn to write. And she would get promoted to managerial positions and stuff like that. And so she instilled in me this mindset that you have no limitations. So whether she realized it or not, from telling me that story, I was like, oh, I could be whatever I want to be, whether I get an education or not. But even though that was a requirement, being raised by her. But the other thing is by working some of the jobs, one of them, she ended up getting injured and she got arthritis in her arm. And for a second, it was like, well, what am I going to do? And she ended up opening up a daycare in her home. And she operated that daycare, I want to say, for well over 20 years. And she legit filed taxes and was able to retire and had her benefits come in. And so that entrepreneurial spirit, she raised me to go to school, go get an education. But whether she realized it or not, she taught me that I had the power to create wealth, to be an entrepreneur. And so I realized when I reflected back over my life that part of the reason why I am determined to make money and do things on my terms and not have anybody control when I clock in, clock out, is because I saw her have that freedom too. And that's what I wanted more than anything.
Mm. Wow. That freedom. Mm-hmm. And for you, Miss Kalinda, the same question.
Well, there are a couple of things that my mother taught me, but two that really stood out was one thing my mother verbally said to me. She was like, never have any regrets in life. And that was because she had them and she didn't want me to, feel and go through what she went through. So that was one of the things that she would always say to me. She was like, I helped your father live out his dreams, but I didn't live out mine. And she was like, I don't want you to have any regrets in life. So when she told that to me, I looked at life totally different. So I go after whatever it is that I want. If I hurt somebody's feelings, or if I, make somebody feel uncomfortable, I'm sorry. But, with not having regrets also piggybacks off of what Miss Aug- hold on, sorry. Miss August said about not having limitations. So it kind of dominoed into that. So I feel like I can do anything. And the other thing that my mother taught me, not by verbally saying so, but my mother and my father have been together 40 something years. And my mother was like, always have your own money. She would always have her own money to the side because my daddy, I love him. I'm a daddy's girl, but he didn't always, manage the money right. And she would always come in, with her money to fill in the gaps and things like that. But it also just taught me to always take care of myself no matter what. And there was a situation with one of my aunts and her when her husband died. She had been with him since he was 17. She didn't know how to pay bills. She didn't know anything about where the money was, she didn't know anything. So when he died, she was lost. And I was like, I don't ever want to be like that. And my mother said, look at that situation, no judgment, but look at that situation and apply whatever you need to apply to your life and, whatever you need to take away. So those are like two of the biggest things that my mother taught me, verbally and kind of non-verbal. So.
And you, Pastor Carol?
Well, let me say it like this. I have two instances that really stick out and have always stick out. Theron, I think you've heard this story before. One, I was in college one time and I decided to take some of my friends home, bring them to Macon. And I brought them to Macon, and my mom was always a woman before her time. So we meet her in, it's a place called Carafe Goldman. I don't know if y'all remember that place that used to be in Macon. And she was standing in Carafe Goldman with a fur coat on and some a sweatsuit on and some high heel shoes with a fur band around her head. I was so embarrassed. And I said to her, with my friends behind me, I said to her, I said, Mom, what is you got on? With her subtle queen self, she made this statement to me. She said, when you learn that your self-worth and your value is not locked up on an outer appearance, you will never ask me that question again. You will know how to approach and see it. Slap in my face. So my mother had me at age 16 years old where they were hiding being pregnant. And so, of course, she was in the house with my grandmother. So I am a grandmama's baby. And my mother and my grandmother had this saying, class is taught and not bought. And so my grandmother was a grandmother that, back in the day, you would think that she got married early, but she didn't have her first child, which was my mother, until she was 25 years old. My grandmother always felt that you should make sure, again, you have your own, but know why you have your own. So when you learn that why you got your own, won't nobody take it away from you so quickly. So those are two things that my mother and my grandmother taught me. Know why you have what you have, you evaluate longer. And number two was classes taught and not bought. Those two things always stuck out with me. So whether I went to school or whatever, what was in me was the moral values that I learned from my mother and my grandmother.
Wow. Each of y'all have almost a similar thing of the independency.
Mm-hmm.
See, like independency, having your own money. I know we live in a patriarchal society, and back then, women didn't have, and now we're elevating up, and that's what I'm saying. The state of womanhood, we are elevating up more in that being independent, always having your own. But in that, does that having your own? Is that we having your own money? This is for everybody on the panel. Do you think, I know we're talking about womanhood, but also with the men, do you think that kind of does something to their ego?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say this. I had to trail back with being the independent woman because I understood what they were doing in that era. But what I also learned that sometimes my independency, if I didn't manage it well, it could be kind of over condescending sometimes. So because the old saying they said, if one won't, the other will. Y'all pray for me. I'm gonna be delivered after a while. And so, and I will have said, one monkey don't stop the show. But I used to have that mindset. So when things I think doing that, we move too fast and not waiting for certain things to come forth because we're independent and we're doing things so much till we find ourselves sometimes we're doing it and it makes our crown go crooked because we're doing everything. And now we're exhausted. And so now the men are feeling intimidated and now we're saying we don't need a man. Now we want to burn bras.
Amen what she said, but I will say this, and it's still complimenting what she said, but it's different. For me, one of the things I did learn from my grandmother was, reverence and respect, for your spouse. So I came into the relationship with this like, hey, Mr. Crenshaw is the king of the castle, but my take on money, his take on money and how we maneuver is completely different. And so that's a spot where we clashed. And it's kind of like, just say this, it's kind of like being a parent. You do the best you can. Two people, you could raise two kids, same environment, give them the same love. One decided to be a crackhead, one decided to be a doctor. And so and I'm saying that because I don't want a woman listening to this to also take any type of accountability or blame and say, ooh, if I just shift my behavior, if I act this way, then the man will be okay. I just believe that men have some really fragile egos, period. And I've had to have conversations with my husband to let it be known. I'm going to be authentic up in this marriage. And it's not my responsibility to police your emotions. See, women, we usually deal with our emotions. And if I say something and it makes you feel some kind of way, then I have to be like, wait a minute, queen, am I really hurting you? Or are you internalizing that because of a past situation or something like that? Same conversations with my husband. Am I offending you? Am I stepping on your toes and not being a good wife? Or do you have some personal issues that you need to deal with? Because if I'm speaking the truth and I'm honoring you and I'm operating in this relationship correctly, if me standing up being bold and powerful is bothering you, that's something between you and God, and that's between you and your creator. That's not between me and you. So men have very fragile egos. And I do believe that At the end of the day, they need us to speak life into them way more than they may even give us credit for. But at the same time, I'm not going to police myself, and I'm not going to dumb myself down, because them egos be there regardless. You could walk on the water they breathe on, but they will still find a reason to have their feelings hurt. And it takes some time for them to make some adjustments.
Yes. Do you have anything to say, Miss Kalinda?
Well, I'm not married, so I don't, the whole marriage part of it. But I do have a fiance, and he has no issue with me being independent. He's very supportive of it. Um, if I do say anything or have said anything to crush his ego, he hasn't shown it to me at all. In any kind of way. It's almost like a balance. That we kind of have. Like, honestly, he's helped push that for me, to be honest with you. So like I said, for me, I see what Miss August said, and I'm just from seeing my parents too, and I'm so glad that you said what you said, that you are not going to dim your light for your husband either, because we shouldn't. And you should speak whatever you need to speak, because that's where healing comes from. But like I said, with my situation now, I don't have the ego problem, but there are a lot of men that do have issues with women who speak up, because then we become the angry, black woman or angry woman. But that's also cycled down. It's environmental, it's lineage, and all of that has to be dealt with. So sometimes when I look at a situation, and maybe that's why I don't have the issue with him, because when I talk to him, I always relate it back to the root. When I'm talking, even when if I'm in the wrong, I'm like, well, you have to understand, I'm coming from this, I'm coming from that. Because my father worked on a farm. He grew up on the farm, so he was a workaholic. I'm a workaholic. So, I explain where things come from, not making an excuse, because I'm still working all the time. But I whenever I say something, I always go to the root of it. That's just kind of how I am, because everything has a root. Everything, even with the guys with the ego. Some of those guys wouldn't have an ego, I don't believe, if they weren't raised a certain way, if the pattern wasn't, shifted down. Like you said, we're in a patriarchal time. You got to think, African Americans specifically, we went through what? We went through enslavement. And the men were emasculated, were more than emasculated. So now they're trying to really find themselves, be the men that the ones that came before them wanted to be but couldn't be, because of those situations. So that's how I look at everything. And when I deal with him, that's how I deal with our situation. And that's just how God made me. I just see things not surface, but behind and the root of it.
And can I add something too? I want
Sure.
to share.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I thought that was your.
No, I'm done. No, I'm done. But she should have said. Theron should have said, "Sure," not me. I'm sorry.
Oh no, we're good. We good.
Oh no. I want to add this in there, and God willing, like for instance, with you, yours stays that way, because it's a beautiful thing. I've been with my husband since 2006. We got married in 2010. And here's something that's really funny. When we first got together, he used to call me his mentor. I never even asked for that. I was like, this man is so humble. You know what I'm saying? He accepts the wisdom and all this stuff that, comes from me. And even when I started my business, and to this day, he's still my biggest cheerleader. We almost went bankrupt, and we was out there hustling. He never threw it up in my face. If an investment went wrong or anything, he was right there with me. But we know that relationships evolve. Nothing stays the same. And I'm just like you, Queen. With me, you can't just say anything at surface level. And I tell people all the time, the answer is never right here, it's right here. So if I ask you a question, the first thing that comes to mind, 9 times out of 10, that's not even the answer. Now, there's been a transition in our relationship throughout the years, though. I mean, we working on that 20 now. You know what I'm saying? You hit them marks, you hit them milestones, them 5, them 10, them 15 years, you start dealing with some ish, and that's the real. And so I can't claim anything for him. But if I were to give the August Crenshaw spin on it, now all of a sudden I go from being this hustling hard wife, you making money with, got, some wisdom, some knowledge, and I'm like a mentor to this woman that's blowing up online, people paying me thousands of dollars. I'm making a lot of money. I'm constantly giving advice to people. Now, when I give you advice in a relationship, oh, you ain't my coach. See, that I thought he didn't have no ego, just like yours. We on the same team. You cheering for me. Now I got to have confidence. So back in the day when we first got together, technically wasn't that coaching. I wasn't being your coach. I was being your partner. Now I'm trying to tell you something, and I'm trying to be your damn coach. If you don't get your ass up out of here, that's what my mind is thinking. I mean, I'm really relentless, but but it's the truth. And so that's why I said when I had to have that conversation, I'm like, no. See, that lets me know that all of a sudden the fragility of your ego has begun to rise. So a lot of times, like Martin Luther King said it best, he said the measure of a man is not where he stands in times of convenience, it's where he stands in the times of conflict and controversy. And when our situation goes up, that's conflict for them, especially if they have not necessarily found their path just yet. Now, all of a sudden, having an identity might matter a little bit more. And so for some of the women that are here, you might know what I'm talking about. Be like, I remember that fairy tale lifetime too. Now, is it better? Have we had those crucial conversations? I'm just like you. Where is that root coming from? That's not me. That's something to do with you. But baby, when I say that I believe that the male ego is as fragile as hell, it is fragile. And you can get one and really believe that you done got you a dime. But if you all are not growing together simultaneously and you begin to skyrocket up, when it hits that point of something sensitive in your relationship, you'll be able to tell because they'll draw a correlation that don't even exist. So I had that. I did, and it's something I didn't have to work on correcting, but we talking about going on almost 20 years of being in a relationship.
Let me say something. When I was, I've been, listen, Lord bless me to release him, but we were married for 17 years. Won't God do it? Amen. But I married at age 25, always been a go-getter. And so I married someone who was the only child, number one. His mother had him late in life, so he had older parents. So he had this country boy syndrome and, want to do everything. But as she said, when he learned about the value of money, now we had a conversation from the beginning, because when it comes to money, I'm going to master that money. So we came to some agreements. He knew he wasn't good with it, and I knew I was. But I also knew that I saw the potential in him. So I was trying, you can't tell a man everything you're doing. But so I knew that I needed $1 million now. So what I need to do is raise one. And so I had the energy. Now I don't have the energy. Now I'm too old for that now. So they have to come already packaged and ready. So, but what I'm trying to tell you, but there was some things, we call it ego, but I'm gonna say it for real, it called insecurities. And so, and these insecurities that he had was identity crisis that didn't have anything to do with me. So once we learn that, we have to identify what's yours and what's not. And so what you'll find out, they'll bring their hidden representatives into the relationship. You don't see them because they wrapped up in your kaka, kiki, and beautiful, and kaka, I love you. So when those days get old, and they will, and yes, when you start making the money and you start traveling and you on the planes and they at home with the children, it'll begin to change. And so you'll find subtle conversations, but a lot of times mine had friends who was older and he was the younger one in the bunch. And because he was younger in the bunch and the old cats felt, as he would call, that your wife got too much control. Y'all don't hear me.
Yeah,
I hear you.
We hear you.
We hear you.
I hear you.
Your wife got too much control, and he couldn't see that the empire was moving. And so they didn't understand the empire. So what they were doing is they were still sitting on the back of a truck with the back of a truck mentality. And what the goal that he forgot what we set forth when we started, that we want to make sure that while we were sleeping, our money gonna be making money. But he forgot. He left the boardroom table. and he went to the back of the truck with his friends. So a lot of times when they have their friends who got ego problems and who have a problem with women who have a mind, I'm not saying strong women, but women who have a mind and have a goal, what happens is they're pinch at those insecurity pieces into that man that you're with. And that's what he did. So he would come home and say, well, my Uncle Terry said this. My Uncle Terry said his wife tell him everything of how much money she making and where all the money should be going. And my Uncle Terry said, you shouldn't be giving me allowance. You should, I should handle my own money. So you find those things because they're trying to find another way. And the only thing is the enemy coming in, trying to give other avenues. And so now the ego is hidden behind the ego, but it's really insecurities. It's some hidden words they've been wanting to say. And so those are the type of issues that I had to deal with because of what somebody else told him, and he left the boardroom table.
I absolutely agree. I know that. I know it's insecurities. I had to tell mine, like I said, now I'm learning through my own journey, what's my issue, what really is my issue, and what is his, and that's just in dealing with anybody. I know I'm learning more about myself, and as we learning more as being a woman, I know what is my issue, what I really have a problem with, and then what is somebody else's. So I don't internalize anything. This is getting good.
Correct.
Do you have any more comments? We move on to the next question.
I want to say this really quick. I'm with you because I'm only 42. And I've never been married. So I have just gotten like myself told by the two of you who have just spoken. No! And I absolutely love it, because it's a lot that my mother, she came from a particular type of upbringing and things. So I didn't learn everything from her when it came to a marriage because she never knew her father. So even her relationship with a man, it didn't take, well, it taught me some stuff, what not to do, but I'm so grateful and thankful for, the two ladies who have just, you all are like, I have already brought you in as like mothers, just so you know, you have a daughter right here, because I love everything. And the insecure, A1, exactly what it is, insecurity. I love it. I'm sorry, but you can go ahead. I'm sorry, there, but that's what I want to say.
Like your questions.
Yeah. Do we have anything? Anybody from the audience you can unmute your mic if you want to comment. We got Shandridra said, I'm having ego problems with men in my relationship now. So this is really helping. This is really helping the ladies. Rhoda said, "This is good, ladies, preach." And of course, August said, "Yeah, she don't look barely over 30. She don't.
No, I'll be 43 this year.
You look good.
Thank you."
Well, also one of the things I want to talk about before we get into sisterhood, the part of womanhood, I do want to talk about more of the womanhood and our mothers, or just women in period. I got a little thing. My mom. Look, she on here. She made me mad one day about something. I don't know what it was. She made me really, really upset. So I wrote some things down. I wrote things your mama taught you that you can't talk about. And so I wrote those down. Like, oh, she just making me mad. And then I just wrote it down. But one of the things I have on here, that we're taught, like I said, taught but not really spoken, that we don't talk about is hiding behind the mask. Don't be yourself. Let's talk about the mask that women wear, because I know that we do, because we wear so many hats at work, at church, in the community, in our home, with our girlfriends, with our family. And so one of the things, I've been kind of taught, but not taught, and breaking away from that is hide behind your mask. Don't be yourself. Let's talk about that right there, about women hiding behind the mask. And anybody can chime in first. It doesn't matter what order we go.
You don't want me to start. Y'all go ahead on. Y'all don't
Look, Miss Carol.
Y'all take it now. Take the wheel.
Okay,
take the wheel. Take the wheel.
I'm gonna take it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take it.
Baby, go in, dive.
What my mama taught me not to do, my grandmama, is to not think that I'm supposed to be a perfect parent. That is the ultimate, most ugly mask that I had to wrestle with. And her daughters taught the same thing. They'd be like, oh, look at us. People just don't believe that we're just such a well put together family and we're so loving and this does this. And my mother did this and stood by my side this way. So guess what? I have 4 kids. I have one that's 25. I have one that's 15, one that's 7, and one that's 6. And the 25-year-old gave me hell. You need to know that I went to school every single time there was an event. Whenever it was time for the parents to be there, the classmates loved me. And not because I was the cool mom, because I've always been raw, but we could talk to, Miss August about stuff. We can't talk to our mom about supporting every endeavor that she had. And she wanted to sing, help her sing, but at the same time, gave her a foundation of faith. At the same time, I'm educated so I can help her with school. Anything, watch Disney channels with you, host sleepovers at the house. Look, we can just go down a laundry list of things. But when I tell you that child gave me hell to the degree that we even had an incident where she ended up in foster care, the first thing was, what did I do wrong? How did I fail? And looked at that stuff, left, down, upright, back and forth, because as a mother, train up a child right. So that, they won't stray. They ain't gonna stray. If they do that, they ain't gonna come back. And all of this stuff was fed into my brain. And finally, I had to get released and be like, hold up. And I said this, brought this up when I was talking earlier. No, we give birth to the child. The wisest piece of advice came to me from a friend. Her great grandmother gave it to her. So you can raise the child, but you can make the child, but you cannot make the mind. And so this whole thing, a lot of us as women, we can't even stand up in our power because we want to get out here. We want to motivate. We want to inspire. We want to help other women. And we be thinking, shoot, I can't even inspire my own damn daughter. No, queen, you still supposed to be standing up and walking in your purpose. Not to say that this is exactly what this means, but like when the Bible, when Jesus said that a prophet's not accepted in his own home, well, your physical home may be the least accepted place that you are when you're trying to minister and give something to your children. And so I let go of that burden of believing that whatever my kids turn out to be, that it's my fault and I have some kind of responsibility as a parent. And I was not taught that. I was not taught to forgive myself, trust myself, and understand that I did the best that I could. I'm done. You see, I took that personal.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay, well, I absolutely love what you said. I can relate because I have one, but I can relate to what you're saying. But one of the things that I was not taught, especially by my mother, she taught me how to beautifully sweep everything up under a rug. So learning how to face
share it. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So learning how to face conflict, adversity, anything I did not know how to do. I knew how to walk away. I knew how to walk away in the most with the quickness, but it also taught me how not to speak, how not to truly be who I am, because the real calendar will tell you what you need to know. And I always felt bad when I wanted to do that. The cutoff queen. Yes, I would feel bad when I would do, if I did say something, because my mother was like, we don't do that, or if something is happening, just walk away, just don't worry about it. So I grew up until like until maybe 35. That's when I began to really come into like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not just gonna let a person talk to me any kind of way. And then it affects also when you're at your job. If you have a manager that want to talk to you any kind of way, because your authority figure, your first authority figure, your parent, your mother taught you to, guess what you're going to do? You're going to do that in every situation, even going to men. You're going to do the same exact thing. And I saw it in every situation that I had. So I had to pull myself out. I pulled myself out of a lot of stuff, But let me tell y'all this, though. I pulled myself out. And as I was healing and pulling myself out, it trickled back to my mother, to the point that her skin even got brighter. That's how healing really works. And my mother's 67 years old. No, she just turned 67. And she said, I'm loving this new journey that I'm on. So anybody on here, I just want you to know, I don't care what your age is. Healing will come at any time, and receive it when it comes, because everything is in divine time. Okay, go ahead.
Bring it.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Let me say this, and I want every woman to hear this. This is what started my journey for Wade. There was 3 things that was said in the Black household that I used to cringe as a child, and that made me defiant. I was very defiant. I'm going to tell you that now. Girls should be seen and not heard. Very defiant.
August.
Don't tell what go on in the house. What happened, it suppresses the emotions. So now if I don't tell, now what happens is 2 things happen. I do not know how to, we are made emotional creatures, but now I don't know how to articulate my emotions. And she said earlier, she stated about, she didn't know how to deal with basically conflict. So if you're keeping quiet, because you only supposed to be seen and not heard. So only thing what happens is it stops you from developing on the inside. So what you're doing, you'll learn how to be vain on the outside, because long as my vainness look good on the outside, I am put together. So I know how to mask it, because I'm masking it behind how I look, versus they don't understand that it's coming out anyway based on your behavior, where you go, who you with. So you find yourself in some lost places, in some lost beds, in some lost relationship, and it makes you blind. So what you do is you'll find yourself with Junebug, that you thinking that because Junebug, so you got identity crisis, because Junebug treats you nice and Junebug listen to you. So now you thinking that because he does this for you, that's the right person. So what I find out that when we was told those things, keep everything in the household, don't tell all your business, you talk too much. What ends up happening is that it takes the person of being sociable away. So now we don't know how to talk to folks, because now I got to act a certain way. So now we don't really mask it, we just become actors.
Amen.
And so we're saying what we're doing is we're operating in different roles. And so we're saying now the roles that we're in, we don't even know how to call them roles anymore. We call them duties. And that's not what they are. If I'm a mother, that's one of the roles that I've taken on. But that don't define me. It's something that I wrote for you all. I love Maya Angelou, I love Phenomenal Woman. But it was something that I wrote. I stopped saying so much. I know it's Women Month, but I've always said that when I used to hear this right here, I changed myself. I'm a lady. And I defined that, what was a lady? Because we're women by nature, right? But what I realized that I made a decision to be a lady. And when I did that, I had to learn that certain things I can't suppress. I do have a voice, but what come out of my mouth is what's valuable. And so I had to learn that, in that, my self-respect, my self-worth. Because if you don't know your self-worth and your self-respect, you're gonna keep quiet. And you're gonna let people, I'm gonna tell y'all something what was told to me. And that stuck with me until I got 30-something years old. They said that, Carol, you're an Amazon girl. Yes, I've been 6 feet tall ever since I was in the 9th grade. And they said that, you're an Amazon girl. So when you go into the room, a lot of women is not going to like you. So you need to shun down who you are. So I had an internal anger because I was told I couldn't be me. And so when I heard the word authentic, that's who they called me. They said, it's the authentic you. Because some folks call it 100, some folks say you keep it real. But ladies, I have to tell you this. The self-value and the self-worth was identified based off generational curses and generational behaviors. And it was also done from the outside and not from the inside. And so that's what the wisdom they were giving me for something they were doing from the outside and not the inside.
Teach.
Yes.
So, you know, I can go on there, answer another question. I'm telling you now, you know, I can
I
go
know,
there
I
now.
don't even want to drag it out. That's why I said I wasn't going to even add nothing extra to it. You said a whole word. I'm just going to leave it right there. Next question.
Well,
Come on, Farron. Put that right there now. Come on.
We got Dr. Jackson says you are free. Down through the years, had to deal with these roles for 48 years and was able to build an internal self. Self-respect and self-worth was given only to me and God, authentic self. Yes. Oh, look, yeah.
Like I said, yes.
Yeah.
Look, I was snapping the whole time you was talking.
Oh, I'm telling you now.
And then going into that, one of the things I have on my thing was one of the things that was taught that we can't talk about. Tell lies is better than the truth. You know, and we as women is going back with the mask. Tell lies is better than the truth. But nowadays, I'm seeing there is a shift of women actually walking in their truth on their story, who they are. And, you know, for the women that are watching or listening to the recording, you know, it doesn't matter what age. Watch Kyla says her healing process is now in my late 20s. There's some women that are still just starting their healing journey in their 40s or their 50s or whatever it is. 70s.
I counsel them. I know 70s. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter age, as long as you begin that. But I want to talk again on part of motherhood, part of womanhood. You have motherhood, and so then you also have sisterhood. Remember, we got about 15 more minutes. I want to don't take too much of y'all's time, but let's talk about the motherhood of womanhood. I know that Clinic, you only have one.
Yeah.
But I know August and Pastor Carol have older children, and my children are a little older than your son. And everybody out of the three had that one child, And I want to talk about that one strong-willed child. You know, and even though you have other children and you learn more about being a mother through the other children, but when your child was cutting up in the teenage years and you had to go through maybe to the system or to pick them up from they were stealing at Walmart or something like that. What was your Nevest?
Yes, you remember Nevest. Uh-huh.
I want to talk about mom guilt in the motherhood, in the motherhood, and how have you dealt with that, and how have you overcame that?
Well, for me, you know, I had 3 children. You know, my oldest son, Nevest, as you would say, it was Stephen. He's going to be with the Lord, so he will be 30 years old this year. But I didn't just have one. I had all my children there. You know, they're all strong-willed. Okay, all 3. But the guilt I had was being a single mother, because I started feeling guilty because I stepped away for freedom and peace. And so when I start seeing my children acting out, having friends, because we came from Atlanta and we moved on the base, and I took them out all their comfort zone. And so now they're in a culture shock. I felt guilty because I made a decision that I thought were going to be better for all of us. And when I saw Stephen getting friends where they stealing at Walmart, the embarrassment of that, what came in, what goes on in your house, stay in your house. So now it's out in the public. Mm-hmm. So I had 2 guilts. How did it leak out? And what I'm doing wrong, and I'm saved. Ooh. I'm a pastor. I'm in ministry. And my children are cutting the food. Finding out that one been molested. What did I do wrong as a parent? How did I miss these things? Where was I? Was I absent? So those things made me draw nigher, more closer to God, because I couldn't find my answer from nobody who was my mentors at the time. So what I began to do was I began to pray. I began to look at myself more. And what I did was I beat myself up more than you ever could imagine. Until one day I was in the Word, and the Word of God began to tell me it was something totally different from what I was going through. He said, I'll never leave you, nor will I ever forsake you. To much is given, much is required. So I looked at my journey differently than it was my fault. I looked at it, it was my process. And so it had to come out so that it had to be healed. That's how I looked at it. So as a parent, I don't look at it as guilt anymore. I look at what I've done and did I do, I'm not perfect. Don't try to be perfect because you used to tell me I was a mean mama. Remember, Theron? You're so strict. So, but I've learned that what I did, I was an intentional mother. So since I knew I was an intentional mother, the guilt went away.
And I won't say that much more because I pretty much kind of spoke about it when I was talking about what I did learn. But I used to be like really heavy in the church and ministry too. And I dealt with that same thing. I was like, okay, God, I'm coming to church. I'm part of the intercessory prayer team. I'm teaching Sunday school, Bible school, marriage ministry. And my daughter is acting a plumb fool. And one of the things that I did do is I was like, okay, let me start looking at these parental relationships. So what was it, about this whole thing with Esau and Jacob, and what was going on with Abraham when they had, Ishmael and Isaac? And I was like, it wasn't even no perfect parents in the Bible. And that was like, and that's why I was like, wait a minute, and look at this dysfunction, but yet and still these were powerful men or women of God that still executed and still lived their lives. That was part of what made me release the guilt, because that I did have that guilt of like, I'm not being perfect. I'm not doing this right. I'm not showing up correctly. But like I said, the other part of it was, and I didn't think of it the way that you said it, Miss Carol, but it pretty much was the same thing. It's a process. I can make the child, I cannot make the mind. And I said, the only thing I can do is still be compassionate, loving, have grace, have mercy, and let them do whatever it is that they're going to do. So I did what I could up until the time when my jurisdiction was done. And then when it was, you go out there, you spread your wings and you fly, birdie. And sometimes just step all the way back and be like, I'll wait till you come back. And then you really want to hear what I got to say. I ain't even going to try to force myself on you. And if people think it's crazy, I can tell you right now, because I want people to be like really, really free, because that whole thing of being really secretive and not wanting people to know stuff. I have not spoken to my about to be 26-year-old daughter in almost 2 years. Do I still love her? Yes. Am I being stubborn? No. If I went back and told you the backstory, what she going through, what she did, oh, baby, you got a whole mind of your own. She know where to find me. My number ain't changed. When she want to turn around and she wants to bring it back, I didn't tell her I don't mess with you no more. I used to be the cutoff queen. I didn't cut her off. She cut herself off. Back in the day, I was, oh my God, what kind of parent doesn't speak to their, you see these posts, don't you? I'm telling you, ladies, you all will be convicted. You see these posts and you'll feel some kind of way. I'm going to say it in the reverse. Like people will put up posts, if you have a mother, you should talk to her every day because you never know when she'll be gone. Oh my, my mama didn't raise me. So I'm not saying I wouldn't feel bad if my mama died, but I'm not going to be crying like maybe some of y'all would. Or the reverse, if you have children, it's a gift from God, and you'll see these posts and you'll internalize them. I haven't done anything. But by the grace of God, but by prayer, I had a praying mama, whatever. I did all I'm supposed to do. I've covered my daughter. She's going to do what she's going to do. And when she comes back, she cool. My 15-year-old, she was a little stubborn. She's back in St. Louis with her dad, but she still talks to me. She's like, okay, mama, she's realizing it faster. The two younger ones, the 7 and the 6-year-old, they're right here with it in the thick of it with me and their dad. All I can do is be the best woman I could be. But that oldest one, she has always had a little something. I'm not finna sit here and fight and try to make her let me be her mama. She's got some issues that she got to deal with, that I've done everything that I can to open up your voice, speak. What have I done? How do you feel? Some stuff we have to realize people have created their own realities and their own thought processes. Team no guilt here. Team no guilt.
Can I ask a question though?
Mhm.
No, I'm just saying, period. The question I always ask, why do we always revert to that we done something? Because remember, if we gave them wings, they got to fly. But could it be they're working on their own testimony? And sometimes as parents, we can get in the way of them in their testimony.
Yes.
If we're giving them the wisdom and the knowledge, that's what we're required to do. I think what a lot of times what we as parents do so much, we want to help live for them.
Or through them.
Through them. That's a lot. Now, Theron have another show about that. Parents who are living through vicariously through their children. That's a different story. But seriously, on that for real, a lot of times when we look at as being a parent, there is no written rule book. Cause Man, Quita, Latate, and Jackie got, like I said, got a mind of their own. But they also got guidelines that we give them. We have to make those choices. They do too. Either they're gonna follow direction or they're not. And whatever road they choose, there are consequences on those roads. We don't have time to be beating ourselves up by the choices that they make. God gave us all free will and choice. That's for our children too. I'm done with that. Now, done with that.
Yeah, was you right? And I've been learning that with 2019 when Javon got locked up in Henry County. I learned then, I was distraught. I'm like, oh no, wait, I'm thinking all this bad stuff. What did I do? How all this kind of stuff? And you taught me to let him go, and now it's getting easier now to be like, that's you. I said my piece. You know the rules. You had to live your life, and and I'm gonna live mine. Mm-hmm. Including, I know you have yours is not as older because yours is in middle school. But what about your mom guilt?
Well, my mom guilt isn't how you all's mom guilt. Well, I don't have it anymore. Well, I'm trying not to have it, but my son was labeled severely developmentally delayed. He didn't talk until he was almost 5. So he struggled a lot, and I had guilt as a mother, like, what did I do? How did I bring him into life like this? Just, what could I have done more to help him? Because he's super shy. Well, he's very reserved. I don't like to use the word shy. Because one day I told him to talk to somebody. He was like, Mom, remember, I'm shy. This was like, he was like 5 or 6 years old. So now I watch, the words that I say, but the guilt that I had was like, what did I do for him to come into this, into the world like this? Or, when he was younger, did I not talk to him? It was a lot. And he's still in special education now, because they had to teach him how to talk. They had to teach him how to use his tongue. He was dyslexic. Now he's not, and he's 13, but he doesn't read on a 7th, 8th, or 7th. He's in the 7th grade. He was an October baby, so they keep him back a year. But he doesn't read on a 7th grade level. So I still have that guilt of, I have, a teenager who doesn't read where he should. So as a mother, a single mother, because his dad and I are not together, I still feel bad about that. He's creative, he's super smart, but when it comes to reading and comprehending things, he's just not there, and I don't know what to do. But his special education teachers have been so amazing. They're like, Kalinda, he's gonna be fine. My son was like this. One of them have a 24-year-old whose son was just like that. So she talks to me all the time, and I'm so grateful, because it's like, no, I feel, even though I know people have been through this, I still feel like I'm walking through it by myself. So I'm grateful for that. But that's the guilt that I have. Like, what could I have done, more for him? But as Miss Carol said, they have their own journeys. They have their own things that they have to go through. So honestly, when I hear that, That's the only thing that gives me peace. Because if it's divine and it's from God, then I know he will be okay regardless of what it is. You know, I just want him to be able to make it in life, you know, because first of all, he's Black. He's a male, you know, and I just want him to be able to make it. And yeah, so, but thank you for everything that you all said, because it really does help, especially when I have to remind myself he has his own journey. Because, you know, when that child comes from you, you want to do everything, you know, for that child, but you have to let them go. And I kind of sort of had to let mine go early, because if I shelter him too much, first of all, he won't be a man. You know, he will not know how to take care of himself and stand on his own. So it's been difficult, even with the one. So I couldn't imagine having more than one, but just with one, with having to be at, you know, because he had tantrums. They thought he was autistic because he didn't like to be around people, loud noises, you know, all of those things used to bother him. So I went through a lot with him the first 4 years of his life. I mean, it was hard. It was extremely hard, because you could see the frustration of him not being able to articulate and get things out. And I'm like, I don't know what you want. So we had to come together with different systems of trying to figure things out. He didn't go to anybody else but, you know, me. And by the grace of God, I found a home daycare, and he took to her, you know. But other than that, it was just difficult. I mean, he would have tantrums where he would scream for hours, and there was nothing I could do, you know, to stop. It was. So we're past that. He's a regular child now, except for, like I said, he doesn't read on a seventh grade level, and that just bothers me, you know,
I
a lot,
encourage
because I
you.
want him to be okay.
I
So
want to add something, if you don't mind, Theron, before you go to the next question. My third daughter, I dealt with developmental issues, and it took her a long time to start talking. When she would speak, I swear to God, I thought she was already speaking Spanish. It's like her
mhm.
brain couldn't keep, her lips couldn't keep up with what was coming out of her mind. And being that she had, I mean, I got these other two children that were breathing by the time they was like 2 years old, and knowing their colors and stuff like that. So even with me having more than one child, it was kind of like, wait a minute, what's going on? You know, did I not do enough with her? And I, for 2 seconds, but I'm like, look, at the end of the day, this one was potty trained at this age, that one potty trained at that age, this one was walking at this age, this one wasn't walking at that age. And so I dismissed that really quickly. And so I'm just going to say this, because I know it's people here from all walks of life. I don't put spirituality on anybody, even though but I do make a lot of biblical references, because I was raised in the church. And if I know something is the truth, I speak it because it's true. I don't quote scripture. I speak what I've lived. And so as it pertains to me, you know, your words are life. So my thing was, the only thing I got to say is that my daughter's brilliant. She's beautiful. She's outspoken. She's that. So when I see her, I'll be like, girl, you're so smart. You're so outspoken. And that's all I would do. And I wasn't saying it because I was just trying to speak something into existence or making a fake affirmation. That's what I truly believe. And we got to realize we live in a society where, just like we are told what we supposed to be like, look like, act like as women, they also trying to tell us what standards we supposed to be on. Even people without no developmental issues, some of them take the math faster than they take the writing. Some take the reading faster than they take the math, and so on and so forth. And we live in this system where everything is just about standards and stuff like that. And before we realize it, we are taking us out of the space of creativity that God naturally gave us. But just in case somebody else, so I want to say that, but just in case somebody else is dealing with a similar issue, the scripture that popped up to mind immediately, there was a child, they brought him to Jesus. He was blind. And they said, so who's saying? Was the mama, was the dad, was the kid? You know, why is this child blind? Jesus said, this ain't nobody's fault. This is so that you can see the power of God. And so we don't ever want to think that our child is going to go through anything that is going to be a challenge because we just want them to have these wonderful, blissful, easy lives. If anything, baby, your child got an anointing or a call unlike none other. And there are some things that he has to process and go through so that people can see the power of God operating through anything and anyone and anybody at any given time. It's about how, now we could destroy that, when we don't have faith. And we could destroy that when we start speaking and looking at things differently. But when you don't, as the words say, look off of what you see because it's temporary and look towards the things that you don't see because it's eternal, baby, you got a brilliant genius on your hands. And so my thing is, and I be getting on the church folks because I be accusing a lot of y'all of speaking this fake whack Christianese. If you speaking for real scripture and you really believe God, then you truly say those kind of words, knowing that it's the truth, that's the truth, that you speak in power to that thing. So anybody that's got any kind of child with any kind of issue, and especially if it's a birth defect or something that can't, don't be blaming yourself. You didn't sin, the daddy didn't sin, the child didn't sin, but the power of God is always going to be relevant. Always going to be relevant.
Mm.
That is the truth. And I'm so grateful that you said that, because honestly, that's how I believe, just period. Everything that you said, that's how I believe. It shook me, when it happened. So I was like, okay, what is going on? And then I had to get back to that place, so I'm better than where I was because I understand it now. And my son, like you said, your child will teach you things. He was like, you told me I was shy. And I was like, let me watch the words that I say. And I tell my son every day, you are brilliant, you are a genius. Because even though he couldn't talk, the boy could put together at the age of 3, 48-piece puzzle. He was doing amazing things. So I always told him that, and I'm like, you're confident, and I help him with his confidence, and things like that. But you're absolutely right with everything. I appreciate all of you for everything that you all have spoken tonight, and I hope there's other people on here that needed that. And I'm glad that my mom guilt was different, because that hit a totally different aspect of, the mom guilt that we do have.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yes. I mean, Sherry said my son was born with the first stage of Tourette's syndrome, and he's 25 now. He has overcome it by taking control with no medication.
That's good.
He is aware when he loses focus and is able to bring himself back on track. I don't worry about him as I once did. Praise God for that. Yes. And Starkeisha said, come on now, it was meant for me to hear this. My son has the same issue. He's in the 2nd grade. So we thank you, ladies, for helping someone to realize they're not alone and they have dealt with the same issue. And that's all this is about, womanhood and coming together. And we're going to go into sisterhood and we're about to close, knowing that you are not alone, knowing that you, other folks have gone through the same thing, the same or similar issues. So as we get ready to close, we're going to talk about sisterhood and your support system and how important that is as being a woman and moving forward. So you go ahead and say what you had to say in your closing remarks and talk about your support system, sisterhood, and how that has helped you. And yes.
Unless somebody else wanted, I say this. Sisterhood is everything. And I have a phenomenal support system. I did have to create it though. Okay. Because I was raised by my grandmama, but she had 3 daughters. I don't think they was too fond of this other little child that came into the relationship, into the household. Because this mouth that I got right now, I had back then. And this spirituality that I got right now, I had back then. So me and my grandmother had a bond that she didn't have with her other 3 daughters because they weren't like this. And they definitely weren't trying to understand God on a level that me and my grandmother had an understanding. And so for a long time, this was coming from a woman who really didn't want to have relationships with women, even though they were naturally always brought to me. And so I had to do a lot of inner work to understand that my upbringing is what caused that conflict. And so fast forwarding to now, I don't want people to leave here and be like, yeah, we had a good time with the State of Womanhood address and we're going to go out there, we're going to create sisterhoods. If you want to create sisterhoods, and if you really want to grow and have a good support system, authenticity is key. Why do I say authenticity is key? Because what's wrong with us as Black women, it's going to be really difficult to develop any relationships and have any sisterhoods when you are judging yourself because you are going to judge others. When you are trying to figure out why her hair is colored and her hair is long and her shorts is this short and her dress is this way and she praying to Jesus and she's saying Reiki this and she a healer that, we have got to learn to give each other the space and the permission to just be whoever we are. Okay. Now, I can tell you right now, I don't stifle myself. I don't censor myself, but there's a difference between stifling and respect. Those of y'all that know me, I cuss a lot, but for whatever reason in the atmosphere, I've said a couple cuss words, but I just don't want to cuss like that in front of Miss Carol. Now, maybe if Miss Carol was on one of my live videos, she got to deal with every cuss word that come out of my mouth because she would be in my territory.
In her space. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm bringing this up because we have a really, we learn to scrutinize. But when you are comfortable in your own skin, you don't care whether this one cuss or don't, this one say Jesus or not. You care about the truth. You care about integrity. I don't care who you are, and I don't care what you do, as long as your existence does not cause hurt, harm, or pain to anybody else. We have got to have patience. And I'm going to use a spiritual reference because a lot of times this is where it gets us. We so busy aspiring to be holy that earthly good. No. And so what we don't realize is that we allow ourselves to become the measuring stick. Well, see, I've been with my husband since 2006. And so I don't sleep around no more like I used to when I was in a club. And I don't go out and I don't be drinking and smoking no more. And so, when we bring people in and we be like, girl, it's going to be all right. Today, I'm going to pray with you. Tomorrow, I'm going to leave God to bless you. Next week, I'm going to say the blessing didn't come through because you still shacking up. That's an example of judgment. We all have had to go through our own trials in our own space. While you sitting there looking at another sister and telling her that she ain't going to get blessed because she ain't right with God, God ain't worried about that Negro. God is happy because last year, she was slapping his sisters, but 5 years before that, she was punching them. And 10 years before that, she was in a gang and she might have shot them. You don't know where she came from. You don't know how much deliverance she's actually experienced. And she's steady progressing and growing. We'll get to that other side later. So we have to make sure that we're not the measuring stick for where another woman should be. We've got to learn to truly understand what it means to embody unconditional love and unconditional acceptance. Without that, there is no sisterhood. And you can't do that when you are not 1000% authentic. I want you to be in awe of who I am because I'm going to be in awe of who you are. If we don't give each other that personal freedom and stop telling one another we're too catty, we're too bossy, we're too loud, we're too this, all of the shit, excuse me, Mama Carol, that the society has told us that we are, then we can't really forge real relationships. So I have sisterhoods with a variation of women, all kinds of different types of women. If you look at us, we are a rainbow of sisters. And we need that if we're going to get back to the strength that we can embody together as Black women. Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to go next, Miss Carol?
I got you want to go, baby? Go on, baby. I can wait till the end. I got
okay, because I want you to close this out. Okay.
Go on then. Okay. It's your turn. Go on then.
Okay. Oh God. Okay. So what I want to say about sisterhood from my experience is this. My mother, she didn't teach me how to develop sisterhoods or friendships with females because she didn't have any, because her mother didn't have any. So and my great grandmother didn't, and neither did my great great grandmother. She lived with all of them. So none of them did either. So when it comes to sisterhood, it is so important to me because first of all, I didn't understand how important it was. I knew it was something that I craved, but I also didn't know how important it was. And I want to say with Miss August, with the judgment and stuff, my mother and her sisters, now my mother has a slew of sisters. That's how they were. They judged everybody. And so I would sit back because I'm really like my dad in a lot of ways. And I would sit back and I would just watch all the cattiness and all of this and all of that. And I was like, I don't want to be that way. But I was never one that was like, I didn't want female friends. So it took me a minute and I'm still even at the age of 42, I'm still learning how to truly develop friendships. Like I have people call me and I look at my phone, I'm like, I don't feel like talking. And then Spirit to be like, Kalinda, you going back to that way you were before when you said you wanted to develop strong, female friendships. So sisterhood is very, very important. And just like Miss August, I have, different people around me of all walks of life. And I wouldn't have it any other way because it teaches you more about who you are. They pull out different things that you didn't even know was within yourself. So it's always important to have, different races, different cultures. I'm big on cultures. I'm big on, things, spirituality and stuff like that. So it's very important to have a sisterhood, one that, as you said, is authentic, that is true, but one that's also going to help you really see who you truly are. But the development of it, I think, is something that a lot of women need to be taught. Because I hear a lot of women say, I don't want to be around girls because they messy. And I'm thinking, if every female that you're around, a group that you're around is messy, you the common denominator. So it's how you seeing it and it's one you putting out, and also it's what you learn, from growing up, even with your own mother. It starts with that because my mother and I were not always close. At one point in time, for 4 years, my whole high school career, I could not stand my mother. She was the reason why I graduated, because I had to get out of her house. I couldn't take but now my mother and I are super close. But it started with the healing work that I did for myself. And she saw how I changed. And then she began to change. I didn't ask, oh, could you change my mama? Could you change my mama? I was asking for myself, so sisterhood is very important. It's super important. Okay, Mama Carol.
I'm going
You
to
know,
show you.
how.
I don't know if y'all can see this right here, but I wrote something because I want you to see something. You see these two arrows. The two arrows is you're giving and the other person is giving. Relationship is wrapped up together. But a lot of times you said something when you said about mothers and relationships. I value sisterhood to the utmost because I always believe that we should be found friendly. I do believe that. But in the process of that, what we find out, the reason why a lot of times we don't want to deal with that is because now that sometimes we have to ask ourselves, do we want to control that? I'm gonna leave that right there. So what you find is that as being a lady, we have to understand, we have to learn how we have to allow our mood to affect our manner. I said again, let our mood affect our manner. I said again, because you got to understand your role in that relationship. I have friends that I've been friends for 38 years, 39 years, and we still friends. You know why we still friends? Because we set the boundaries, and that's what a lot of people don't do. In any relationship, especially friendship, you set boundaries. You say who you are, and then those are your margins. You don't go, when people doing certain things, you don't go past those margins. Hold on. You have conversation, correct dialogue. We began to talk more. So my friends and I, we always made a pact when I was out there in my rattlesnake days. This wasn't because before I got saved. This was in my rattlesnake days. We had something that I always value, relationship. Because I always feel that all y'all women on here, I want you to hear this. If you're married, or it's a grown old folks say, if you're courting, or whatever you're doing, engage, whatever you're doing, make sure you got friends. You have friends that are effective, and you got friends, because I have friends from all walks. I got friends who are atheists. I do, right? I'm not friend with them because of that. I got friends that talk too much, that I know I can only tell them stuff that everything already know. I got some friends that gonna hold it to their grave. And I got some friends that will be body, Vaseline waiting, and tennis shoe ready to get it done. I got all those type of friends. And I got those friends that talk proper. And I got those friends that still trying to find themselves through their financial meaning. I got all that. But what we have in common is this. We respect each other. Ladies, listen to me good. Don't allow anyone to dictate your emotions. What you find out, you have people, they want to be able to tell you something and dictate, or they can't handle your response. That's why you got the problem with people can't deal with messy folk. They say, I can't deal with that. A lot of people can't, you got to find friends that who will sit with you when you hearing bad news. Do you have those friends in your corner? When you're getting bad news, will they be there for you? Ride or die? Are they there? So ladies, I want to leave you with this. Make sure that you know you necessary. Make sure you know you valuable. When you know your value, you can sit in the room with anybody. Hater, they will become your motivator. And that same hater, they hating for a reason. Let it not be something that you need to correct, but let it be because they admire you. A lot of haters hate you because they admire you secretly. So, ladies, I want to just say this right here. Sisterhood is very important. It keeps a balance. When you're going through something, you have someone that you can dialogue with. You have someone that you can talk to. You have someone that you can look. Am I my sister's keeper? Yes, I am. You know, so you need to understand where you at in that relationship. Set the boundaries. You don't control it. It's controlled by both. You, whatever you put in, that's what it's going to be. If you don't invest anything in your relationship with your friendship, it ain't going to be nothing. And baby, if you don't want to pick up the phone that day and talk, you have the right. But know why you're not picking it up. Not because of the fact that you just can't connect. You may need to pick up that phone so somebody can help put some jip back into you. Say, come on, girl, let's do this thing. I see you. Come on now, I hadn't heard from you. We need to learn how to pick up our sisters and be able to pick them in the spirit and be able to pick them up for real. So but don't be the person that you always doing the one to picking up. Your circle ain't right. So all I'm saying, make sure your circle, everybody in the game together. That's the problem. That make good sisterhood. When everybody got something at stake. They necessary. You necessary. You understand what I'm saying? You got an asset, they got an asset. And those assets come together. That's all I got to say, because you know I can talk all day. But anyway,
yeah,
know your value and know your wisdom. And listen, Theron, what my old saying, you got to have 3 people. Somebody, I like women smarter than me. I'm gonna say it again. I like women smart. That's my thing. I love people smarter than me.
yes.
Because it gives me a goal to reach. Then I like people who trying to get there. It give me a goal to pull. So be able to have something you can reach for and somebody you can pull, you can pull in. I'm done. Oh.
Yes. I want to thank all the ladies for this.
Love y'all.
In my takeaway for sisterhood is important. I know, like Pastor Carol, so you have ones that you can tell something and they ain't gonna tell it. And you got some like you got some that you only can tell certain things to. You know, because they gonna tell it, but everybody know it anyways. I love again, women and us coming together, because we need to come together, because we are the foundation, we are the foothold, and we have to dispel some of the myths and learn how to, just like you said, know who you're talking to. Just know who you're talking to and allow the grace to be who they are. I have my ratchet friends that I can talk ratchetness with and I got the other ones that we don't talk about that. We talk about other stuff. Just know the lane that your friendship is in. I want to know the language. Know the language. I want to thank each of our panelists for coming out and sharing the comments in here. Thank you, ladies. Yes, me too. Thank you, ladies, so much. I really enjoyed this. This was absolutely awesome. So we gave you some wisdom, some tips and stuff just to dialogue and think about in your head when it comes to motherhood, sisterhood, and womanhood, sisterhood, and motherhood. Some things just to think about. The State of Womanhood Dress, again, is going to be an inaugural one. And share this with your friends. share this with your friends about this event, because tomorrow we have Miss she's on here, Miss Lisa Yeoman. We have sisters tomorrow, so more about sisterhood and the different dynamics that they learn from being underneath the same mother. So tomorrow we have Miss Lisa Yeoman with her sister Katie Littles, as well as Kimberly Abad, as well as her sister Crystal Lowe Johnson, and we have a special guest on tomorrow night. I'm so excited. She's gonna go ahead and come. This is my mom, y'all. It's my mother. She agreed to come on live because she agreed to show her face on Zoom. Oh my goodness. So she agreed to come on. And I'm like, Kalinda, there was a point in my life where me and my mom, we ain't speak for 6 months. Well, we ain't see each other for 6 months. A relationship with my mom was a little rocky. Pastor Carol knows the relationship was a little rocky and everything. And because of my healing and helping myself, doing the inner work, it is see through my mother now. Now, when I was dealing with my rocky point in my life, close to about 3 years ago, dealing with my son and dealing with those type of issues, house foreclosed, repo the car, my mom was there to help every step of the way, because I used to believe at one point in time, I'm like, they tell my mom, I'm like, she just fake. Showing that mask. She just doing that. She just ha in front of them. Oh, your mom's so nice. She did this. I'm like, oh, okay. But now, I do see it. My mom, she called me all the time, and I know the lane too. You got to know your lane. I know my mother. I know that her demeanor. And so she said what she say. I say what I say. I'm like, that's just my mama. That's her. That's her thought, her beliefs, and I keep it right there. Again. She's coming on tomorrow. I said, Mom, come on tomorrow. I said, like, how she should do me? They already know you represented me. And you got to do that. I said, Mom, you got to put on your face tomorrow, Mom. I said, you got to get camera ready. Don't embarrass me. Put your face on tomorrow. She's like, I ain't wearing makeup in a whole year because she's been teleworking. I ain't been wearing makeup in a whole year. We'll put some on tomorrow night, okay? So I thank everybody for coming on. She'll be on tomorrow. If you missed any of this or you want to share this replay with anybody, go ahead and purchase an all access pass for $47. 10% of the proceed is going to Single Moms Connect Development Centers coming in the spring. Again, you may got what you needed, but your takeaways you got from each of the days or in particular today, and you want to share that with somebody else, go ahead and purchase for somebody else. Sharon is Karen, and share the gift of this replay, the all access replay with a friend, with another sister, especially if somebody that you're like, oh, I know someone, she needed it. She like that. She needed it right here. Buy the replay, share with them. Everybody here got the link, so you'll see more about the link in your emails as well. Again, I greatly appreciate everybody for showing up and showing out. And so we got Friday night, and we have Saturday with a sip, shop, and share. We have Michelle Clark. Saturday, we also have Tricia Bright, and we have a mother-daughter pair, Marcella Tillman and Miss Dale Turner, coming together to talk about the couple mother-daughter. So they're going to go in and tag team it on Saturday for our climax of the State of Womanhood address. Again, I want to thank all the sponsors, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Good night.
Good night, and thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Darren.
Good night.